Today we will be telling you about the best horror movies of 2022 so far. 2022 has been a great year of movies after a long break from the pandemic. Horror movies are one of the best genres and they keep improving. So in today's video, we will count down our top 10 best horror movies in the world. Let's jump into it. Number 1. Host 2020. We knew it was on the way, but post-pandemic horror has already arrived in the shape of a Zoom call gone very, very wrong. Desperately on the hunt for something to do other than endless lockdown quizzes, we feel this a group of friends gets together for an online mid-lockdown seance. What follows is a short, sharp shock of found footage adrenaline in an intimidatingly lean 56-minute run time. The Host isn't the first horror to take place on a computer screen, taking terrifying inspiration from Greasy, The Blair Witch Project, and Paranormal Activity, yet delivering a dangerously relevant frightmare. Happy Spookies! Thanks to quarantine, we all speak fluent Zoom, and every interaction, every joke about parents refusing to stay in and the woes of lockdown is painfully relatable. Thus, when this group of women lights candles and something arrives where they're meant to be safe, we can't help but be dragged along for the ride. Some truly innovative uses of modern tech deliver the perfect 2020 scares, and brilliant performances crank the tension into unbearably terrifying territory. If this is what director Rob Savage can make in lockdown without actual face-to-face interaction with his cast, it's going to be very interesting to see what he does next. Number 2. Saw 2004. It might have reignited the so-called torture porn genre with its, mostly, truly disgusting sequels, but this is a huge, but the original Saw is nowhere near as gross-gusting as you think it is and happens to be brilliant horror. Yes, the title is about an implement that a depraved killer suggests someone takes their leg off with rather than use a key to unlock a cuff, but Saw is actually remarkably restrained. The ideas at work here are significantly more grisly in your own mind than what you see on screen. Made on a shoestring budget by Leigh Whannell and James Wan, this tale of two men waking up in a bathroom, a corpse between them, is twisted but constantly intriguing. Put simply, we all play Jigsaw's game along with our heroes. What would we be willing to do to save our own miserable lives? Would we be Amanda, ready to go into a stomach to find a key, or would we sit and wait for an ultra-gruesome fate? Throw in the genuine terror of Billy, Jigsaw's painted cycling doll, and one of the most terrifying extended jump scare sequences potentially ever, and Saw still manages to pack a barbed wire-covered punch. Number 3. The Burns 1963. Sure, there's all that talk about showers and murder. Editor's note. We know it's not just talking, and Hitchcock's Psycho is a genuine horror masterpiece, but it's time to talk about the feathery elephant in the room. The Birds, the master of suspense's loose adaptation of a short story of the same name by Daphne du Maurier, is scary cinema at its finest. When Tempe Hedren's Melanie Daniels heads to Bodega Bay to deliver some lovebirds, she gets far more than she bargained for when the wild-winged inhabitants of the town decide that human eyes might taste just as good as discarded chips. Much like Jaws, The Birds preys on your simplest fears. Open water. Not for me, thanks. How about the very idea that the seemingly innocent feathery ones in your surroundings are actually using those tiny skulls to plot to murder you where you stand? Hard note. If you haven't seen it, to go further would be spoilerific. Where The Birds excels is in its gradual, lurking fear, its patience, and looming dread. Plus, the genuine panic in Hedren's eyes as very real birds were thrown in her direction is a truly terrifying sight to behold. Just stay safe in the knowledge that no one makes films quite like this anymore. Number 4. Dawn of the Dead 1978. Choosing only one undead Romero offering for a list of the best horror movies of all time is a bit like taking on the shuffling horde with a letter opener. Gory and challenging, but not altogether impossible. After much deliberation then, it's time to go shopping. Romero's gory attack on the consumerist American dream follows 4 survivors of the zombie apocalypse as they arrive at a sprawling mall. While they manage to get inside without anything munching on their brains, it doesn't take long before the beacon of the mall attracts other guests and the defenses start to gorily break down. We've had more hungry shuffling hordes than we can count since Romero's initial offering, but that doesn't make the source material any less horrifying to watch. The gentle idea that the zombies are still heading to the mall after death is an insidious one, and the relentless violence of Night's sequel is an experience that demands your attention. Tom Savini's delicious practical effects too mean there's still plenty of squirm for your buck as skin and muscle are ripped from their sticking places. Plus, if you feel like you just can't watch anything in less than HD, Zack Snyder's 2004 remake is a surprisingly effective, not to mention creepy, replacement. Number 5. Shaun of the Dead 2004. If Scream reignited the joys of the teen slasher movie, the return of good zombies to our screens is all Simon Pegg and Nick Frost's fault. The first in Edgar Wright's Cornetto trilogy, Shaun of the Dead follows the titular Shaun as he plods his way through his dreary London existence, only to discover, beautifully late, that the majority of the population has been transformed into shambling cannibals while he was asleep. Suddenly realizing he needs to be the hero everyone deserves, it's time to rescue his mum, get his girlfriend back, and make sure everyone is fine in time for tea. Unfortunately, it doesn't quite go to perfectly edited plan. While it slickly plays for laughs, Shaun of the Dead is very much horror at its gory heart. It plays by Romero's rules with a slow zombie horde, which means that their staggering relentlessness is a constant fear if one tempered by a brilliant comic script. And these aren't just disposable characters made to be pulled to pieces in an explosion of O negative. Everyone matters here, meaning that every zombie encounter does too. Throw in a brilliant soundtrack, excellent performances, and redder than you can throw a cricket bat at, and Shaun of the Dead is a comedy horror masterpiece. Number 6. A Nightmare on Elm Street, 1984. Just like a certain dungaree-clad possessed doll, Freddy Krueger fell firmly into killer clown territory as the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise evolved over the years. Sure, he'll spray your organs all over the walls, but you'll die laughing, right? Look back at Wes Craven's original movie, though, and Freddy isn't to be trifled with. Our selective memories mean we often forget that this serial child killer's burns come from him being incinerated by an angry mob of parents. Living eternally through their fear and guilt, Freddy becomes the ultimate boogeyman when he dons his favorite murder glove and goes after a whole new generation of Springwood spawn while they slumber. The bed is meant to be safe, secure, free of razor-sharp blades ready to plunge through your chest at any given moment. Robert Englund's Freddy might be horrible to look at, but it's the very idea of falling asleep and never waking up again that's the true terrifying kicker here. The desperation of Heather Langenkamp's Nancy and her friends as they strive to stay awake to stay alive. No amount of caffeine or loud music can save you now. Dreams are waiting, and that's where a maniac lurks menacingly in the dark to end your life. Yes, the whole movie is worth it alone for Johnny Depp's spectacularly splattery death scene. But A Nightmare on Elm Street isn't one to press the snooze button on. This was all for today's video. If you like this video, then subscribe to my channel and comment down below on what you want to see next. Peace out.